shares ending the day more than 26% up, a huge quarter for you. What were the primary drivers you saw as standouts in a pandemic quarter?
Well, Emily, these have been such challenging times. I mean, in many ways, this moment is very humbling and also very bittersweet because, we've seen so many of our customers go through so much difficulty this quarter. But I think that we can look at this quarter and look at everything that's happened with Salesforce. And, we so strongly believe business is the greatest platform for change. I mean, we continue to work with our customers and use our Customer 360 platform to help them transform their businesses to get closer to their businesses. And at the same time, we're very much looking at this as a victory for stakeholder capitalism. We've been able to deliver a great return for our shareholders. You just made that very clear. Well, that's a 5,000% return since, we went public in 2004. It's also a strong return for stakeholders. We've done millions of hours of volunteerism. We've been able to give away hundreds of millions of dollars. We run over 50,000 organizations for free in our service, primarily nonprofits and NGOs. And you can even look at our local San Francisco and Oakland public schools where we live, Emily, and you can see we just delivered another $20 million this quarter to them, which brings our total contributions to over $120 million to our local public schools. Maybe that's what I'm most proud of this quarter's accomplishments.
Absolutely. We have covered some of your efforts, recent efforts in education. Salesforce's market cap is now higher than Oracle's. You were a young Oracle employee back in the day. I know that you and Larry Ellison have sparred a bit over the years. How does it feel to surpass your biggest rival for the last 2 decades?
Well, I'll tell you, Emily, that I'm really excited about our customer success. I mean, that's really what I focus on. And when I, get questions like that or other questions around the personal aspects of business, the reality is nothing is more important to me than the success of our customers. And I look at a major win for this quarter, AT&T. I mean, we signed this amazing transaction with AT&T in February. This quarter, we deployed our first 35,000 users there, hundreds of stores now live. We're building them a single source of truth. That is, when you walk into an AT&T store, talk to their call center, a field service representative comes to your home to install one of their products, they're able to use our product to know everything about you. And that's what I focus on every single day, Emily. I focus on our customers, and I focus on stakeholder capitalism and running a business that's doing well and doing good. And this is really my primary focus. The personal issues, at the end of the day, for me, relationships are actually quite eternal. Business itself is somewhat temporal. So it's important to focus on what's truly important, which right now is our customer success.
Now, let's talk about whether the growth in the cloud is sustainable or if you're seeing a pull forward in. Does it mean things will slow down when we come out of the pandemic and shift to whatever new normal is?
Well, we've seen this as a long-term growth driver. Salesforce is now 21 years old. We've done many interviews together, haven't we, over so many years? And the reality is it's basically the end of software. Everything has moved to the cloud. Salesforce is the largest enterprise applications company. We've made our name on the idea that you can easily get value from this cloud solution, that it's fast to install, fast return on the investment, that the transformation that you want for your business, regardless of scale, can happen instantly and powerfully, and that you can get tremendous ROI. And this is why Salesforce continues to grow. You can see today, Salesforce will do more than $20 billion in revenue this quarter. That's amazing. And we've have more than 54,000 employees. This really allows us to serve any customer in any part of the world, and also demonstrates that the cloud is real and here, forever.
It's the end of software, Mark. Those are some fighting words. I wonder how some of your competitors like Microsoft would feel about that. I thought about Mark Andreessen once saying software will eat the world. Do you think we're entering a new era for technology?
Well, the end of software, I said that first in 1999, Emily, so I had to pull that out of my old tool chest. I just so squarely believe that we needed a new software model, a new model based on the cloud, a new business model, where customers pay as they go. And look, we also need a new philanthropic model. These traditional software companies have not been the most generous or philanthropic to their communities, as you know. And that's why I started Salesforce. You're right. I left Oracle now almost 22 years ago. And when I did, I really took those three goals. Can we create a new technology model? Can we create a new business model? Can we create a new social model for business? And we're trying to inspire a new industry, a new set of values based on trust, on customer success, on innovation, on equality. We're trying to inspire stakeholder capitalism. That capitalism itself, well, the traditional capitalism is dead. That we need a new capitalism, a more sustainable, a more just capitalism, a more equitable capitalism. And we're trying to be an example of that, certainly where we are headquartered in San Francisco, but really and everywhere that we go around the world. And when we have a quarter like this, it's evidence that stakeholder capitalism not only is good for our communities, but good for business as well.
Still, you're planning to cut about 1,000 jobs if things are going so well. Why do you need to make these cuts?
Well, that's such a good question because, these are such challenging times. And whenever we make job cuts, I look over the 21-year history that we've done that, it's difficult. But we are running a business, of course, and there is no lifetime employment at Salesforce. Everything is performance-based. That's one of the key principles of stakeholder capitalism. We have to make sure that we're doing what's right for our business and growing our business and succeeding in our business. And we are going to make job changes and shift and evolve. And as our market shift and as our customers shift and as our product portfolios shift, we'll make changes to how our employees are balanced. Today, we have about 54,000 employees. You can assume that every year we're going to rebalance 5 to 10% of those employees.
Meantime, you are expanding family paid leave, giving parents 6 weeks of paid time off as the pandemic continues. You are covering more childcare expenses. You say parents can work from home as long as their schools are remote. And you've got a lot of parents across the country saying they wished they worked for Salesforce right now. Is this something that you believe other companies should be doing?
Well, look, every CEO has to make changes right now. We had to make changes too. I mean, I look back at our first quarter and we said, wow, we're in a pandemic. We're in an economic crisis. We're in a social justice crisis. We're in an environmental crisis. We have to make changes. We could not run the same plan or playbook that we ran in 2019. This is 2020, and it's not the 2020 that we thought we were going to have. So we are making changes to every aspect of our business. Benefits, you just laid out very clearly, have to evolve and change based on people, well, like me, working at home. I'm working at home. I haven't been in the office, for almost 6 months. That's amazing. But that's true for a lot of our employees. Now, some of our offices are back open, like in Japan and some places in Europe. But even where our offices are open, Emily, employees are not coming back. So we're in a new world. We're also having to build new products for that new world. You may know that we built a whole product line called work.com to allow our customers get back to work safely. They need contact tracing and shift scheduling and workforce command centers to help manage their relationships with the pandemic. Well, I didn't even know what contact tracing was 6 months ago. Now we've deployed it for over 35 states and many countries, and thousands of businesses are using our contact tracing so that they can keep track of their customers and their employees who are impacted so severely by the pandemic itself. So look, you have to make changes. We're in a new world. Those changes are going to impact every part of your business, your benefits, your products, how you distribute your products, your offices. Every part of the business has to be shifted. And, of course, I'm a fan of the Japanese, and one of the great things that they talk about is shoshin, beginner's mind. In the beginner's mind, there's every possibility. In the expert's mind, there are few possibilities. This is a moment that we all need shoshin. We need a beginner's mind when it comes to our business.
Jack Dorsey has said employees can work from home forever. Is that something that you would consider, or is that an overreaction?
Well, I think we don't really know. This is my first pandemic. I haven't really been through a pandemic before. I know others have been through pandemics. Certainly, our employees in a lot of the Asian countries have gone through very severe pandemics, but I have not been through a pandemic. So I don't know if our employees are going to be working at home forever or if they're going to come back next year. But I know that we are going to have to keep an open mind to what the future of work looks like. We know that at this point, well, our customers need to sell from anywhere. They need to service from anywhere. They need to market from anywhere. They need to conduct e-commerce. I mean, you talk about the quarter, we didn't expect such huge acceleration in our e-commerce business. You look at our core e-commerce customers, they really surged their e-commerce businesses in this quarter. It's all driven by the pandemic. So the pandemic really causes you as a CEO to reassess your business, every part of it. And all of us have to make those changes. This is a critical time to make sure that you're relevant, that your employees are participating, that they're well trained, and that you have the tactical plays that you're able to execute your new strategy. I think a lot of CEOs are still implementing that, but right now everyone needs to make those decisions.
President Trump has taken the fight to China now with 2 months to go to the election, trying to ban TikTok or force a sale to a U.S. company over national security concerns. The companies rooting for it include Microsoft and Oracle, which are two of your competitors. What is your take on the president's handling of this? And how do you think this would impact the tech landscape, given that TikTok is the biggest competitive threat to Facebook? And I know you have strong feelings about Facebook.
Well, I think when you look at social media companies, Emily, and we have talked about this exhaustively, haven't we, that these companies need to get to a new level of their core values. I mean, Facebook in many ways remains our new cigarettes. It's addictive. It's not good for you. It needs to be regulated by the government. I've been talking about that now for several years. I don't think people realized until Cambridge Analytica, all of the kind of things that that Facebook has been doing with their data and kind of their inability to say that trust and truth are their highest values, that they don't value the truth at all. That is just shocking to me as a CEO. So social media, this has to be at the tip of our spear. Our government does have to be involved in these social media companies. They need to start regulating these companies. They need to be holding them accountable for what's on their platforms. And we look at the amount of misinformation and miscommunication regarding the pandemic. Wow, I mean, I just can't believe it. And I see that today. I see that everywhere. People don't realize the criticality of wearing a mask or keeping social distancing, that these things are still being debated online. That's like just shocking to me.
Meantime, Mark, you've been really active trying to improve the homeless situation in San Francisco, even pushing for a tax on companies, including tech companies, to help combat homelessness. It's gotten worse in the middle of the pandemic. You know, what more can be done? What do you think? What are you advocating for to be done about this?
Well, Emily, for years I've been calling for more funding for the homeless. You'd be surprised at how little funding there is. And we also need more directed funding. We need better process and programs. That's why I'm funding a very significant multi-million-dollar initiative at the University of California, San Francisco, studying the homeless situation. And they've made a number of recommendations to policymakers who have remarkably little understanding of how to manage the homeless. There's also a lot of mythology around the homeless. It's why I went to the scientists to actually make it crystal clear what these policymakers need to do. And they still struggle at the city level, at the state level, at the national level. And we can deal with the homeless situation. We know how to deal with it. We do need more funding. We need to have clarity. Look, at the end of the day, every homeless person needs a home. When you give people a home, they have less symptoms. They have better behavior. It's a better situation. And that is something that our local leaders need to get deeply committed to.
Now, as the pandemic drags on, Mark, I know, sometimes we hear positive news about vaccines, but in fits and starts. Bill Gates told me he thinks that we won't be out of this till the end of 2021. What are your biggest concerns quickly as the pandemic continues?
Well, I'm not an epidemiologist. I rely on Larry Brilliant, our local our local all-star, for advice on what to do and how to look at the vaccine situation. But I think we all know we don't know what the vaccines are going to bring. There's over 100 vaccines under development. We don't know how many injections you're going to need. We don't know the degradation rate on the antibodies themselves or how often you're going to need these vaccines. We don't know which one's going to be the most effective. We are still in the middle of the pandemic, which means, Emily, that you need to wear your mask, do social distancing, don't gather in large groups. This is still a very serious situation. And I look at a place where I spent a lot of time in Hawaii, and wow, the mismanagement by our government in Hawaii is just amazing. At the state level, at the county level, the amount of misinformation that there's still in Hawaii, for example, there's not a mask mandate. So there's no one in Hawaii who says, yes, we have a mask mandate and a $100 fine if you don't wear a mask. Today, that's still a debate in Hawaii. And you look on social media, it's a debate. It's not a debate. We know this is a respiratory virus. We know it's stopped by wearing a mask and social distancing. So please wear a mask. Another thing I'm funding is something called xprize.org/mask. Can we build the best mask in the world? We're actually putting up $1 million prize, encouraging kids 24 years and younger to submit their mask. We have hundreds of already entries. Amazing. We need a great mask. That's one way we can go after this pandemic and resolve it once and for all.